Hey y'all, so this is my very sad discovery of what science educators actually know about science. Let me get through all of this. Okay, so breaking news, science teachers don't really know that much about science. And then here's what I know. 8 science educators were interviewed to gain insight about how they understood the nature of science, value of science, and science instruction, which was the task of this assignment. It turns out that they say they see science education as being important, but many don't teach in the way that represents that they truly get why science education is vital and practical for possibilities outside of the classroom. I did have one teacher that kind of talked about it, but the rest of them kind of just talked about it as if it was a subject matter, and not like seeing the real use of it. So some actual quotes they use were science inquiry allows students to ask questions and be curious, and then science gives students an outlet to learn problem-solving skills that are really necessary to promote self-regulation in elementary grades. There wasn't much substance to answer these questions. Even a couple of teachers told me, I don't know. When asked what is science or what is not science, they're like, I don't know. And then they got confused between these first 2 questions. So what is science and what are the characteristics of it? For characteristics, most people just wanted to say, oh, it's experiments. That's all it is. It's experiments. So do you even know science? That's how some of the teachers, look, well, what I imagine they looked like when I asked them about all this. They said they weren't prepared. Like it's something you teach, how you're not prepared. The nature of science, what does that mean? So many of the teachers had trouble understanding what I was asking them. They showed superficial understanding of what science is. Basically, they told me that they thought what they thought I wanted to hear. So I heard the same couple words over and over again, like nature, things around us, phenomenons, those big things that you hear about in science. Well, I'm saying big because in elementary, that's really what you're going to hear about. And then when I asked what is not science, they were just saying, oh, it's just guesswork. That's not science. But I feel like guesswork could be a part of science because what is a hypothesis? That's an educated guess. I'm going to look at the facts and then I'm going to guess and then I'm going to retest and then I'm going to try to figure out what's wrong with it. Make an educated guess on how to fix that and keep going. Like it's a cycle. By the time I got to interview number 5, I finally got some real elaboration. So science is everything around us. Science should look like teacher presenting students with factual information, an exchange of ideas with the students while building on curiosity. It should look more discovery based. These statements alone are very contradictory and problematic. So one is more of a one-way street, while the other ones are allowing others to find information of their own terms. It's like there was kind of a split of what it's supposed to look like or how it's supposed to be ran. Like how do we do science? So some people said that science creates thinking. In order to experiment in science you can experiment to see or prove. Science is more concrete. Science is ever evolving. So like other subjects like ELA and math, there are definites, but in science things are like ever changing. And these are just some pictures of my kiddos doing an experiment. I just thought it was cute, so I put them in there. They were trying to make the tallest tower, and they were just giving cranberries and marshmallows and toothpicks, and they had to figure out how to make the tallest tower. So, what base would be? What kind of base would be the strongest? Are you gonna go like with a triangle or a random shape or a square and build tall? You're gonna build it sideways and then hold it up vertically. Which ones are gonna work better, the marshmallows or the cranberries? So that's what science looks like in our class. The value of science. Location obviously makes a difference. I saw that through my comparing the answers. So schools in St. Tammany Parish, support for science instruction in elementary schools is underwhelming. During this past school year, we put more focus on our ReadyGen curriculum. That was our ELA curriculum for K through 3rd grade, and that's where all my teachers came from, K through 3rd grade. So even instructional coaches and administration talked about how we need to put more focus on the reading curriculum, and then the science stuff is just most of the science stuff is embedded in there. There's not even really a list of what is not embedded in there. But they said if you just go by the reading curriculum, you're going to hit most of the science standards instead of teaching it in isolation. So, one teacher mentioned that it seems like the higher you go up, the more stress was put on science education. So in those K through 2 classrooms, there's a little bit of focus on it, but especially when you get to that 2nd grade, they're pushing it more because in 3rd grade they're going to need to focus on that a little bit harder. So while teachers in St. Tammany Parish are not currently supported with any specific professional developments, time, resources, equipment, they all seem to value science. So even though we have this new curriculum, nobody is there to teach us about it. And it's what a lot of the teachers are saying. They're like, okay, yeah, we're excited to teach it more independently, but I'm kind of just going to have to guess on how to teach it. One teacher mentioned how science education is important for cognitive development and getting students prepared for life outside of school. Teaching science, and especially STEM, will enable students to be more marketable for future jobs. So all the teachers in this parish mentioned that we have received a new science curriculum, like I said, but we're not properly trained on it. So one teacher said they want us to be able to learn she wants to be able to learn the proper way to teach inquiry to these kids at this level. However, across our state in Lafayette Parish, which is where most of y'all are around, the teachers were given $250 towards their science materials, and they actually were taught how to teach it. It's like a complete opposite of what's going on over in St. Tammany Parish, where we have to try to fund our own projects when we do them, and then we're sustaining it by ourselves. So they were given the tools to do this correctly and make it they were given the tools to do like a more inquiry-based approach with the 5E model. The teacher that I talked to from Lafayette Parish felt highly supported by her school to teach science, and they wish they had more, but she does wish that they had more professional developments on how to kind of stretch it out, because she felt like at some part, like the first 2 E's were done too quickly, so that the pacing was a little off. So across the board, they kind of do wish that they had more professional development for science education. I want to go back to St. Tammany Parish for a second. One of the teachers that I talked to from St. Tammany Parish, she came from an A school in the parish, which was in a very nice area. It was very upper middle class. All the kids had, there was a low population of free and reduced lunch, and the parents were very involved at that school, so they had their own STEM lab at the school and were able to do so much with science education because they had the funds and they had the parents that were willing to get involved and stuff. And I just thought that was kind of interesting, because not all of St. Tammany Parish has a bunch of money just sitting around. They don't really have that community aspect of it, so they aren't allocated so many things, and they're not helped out very much when it comes to science. Science instruction. How do we science? So but one of the participants claimed that science instruction has changed over the time in the classroom. They say that there's used to be a strong focus on science education, but then it went away and now it's coming back. So long teachers used the GLEs to base their science instruction off of. So once these new standards came out, they didn't really change their teaching too much, especially since the administration wasn't coming down on them about it. One teacher stated that, the teachers who have been teaching science for a minute now kind of just use the same lesson plans over and over and over again. So when they came out with these new standards, it's either they hit the mark. The lesson plan hit the marks of it, or they didn't. But the teachers weren't adjusting their teaching to fit those new standards. So now that science education is becoming a hot topic again. The focus is more on phenomena and inquiry. Change in teaching has not yet made its way to changing assessment, though. So teachers reported that assessment still looks like observation and questioning, and for the most part, it's going to still be a paper and pencil test. One teacher even said that she could not even answer that question because science has been put so far on the back burner at her school. So the demographics of my group range from 2 years to 20 years, kindergarten, first, and second grade teachers. Most of them came from St. Tammany Parish and one came from Lafayette Parish. It was kind of cool to see that difference, and even within the parish, because St. Tammany Parish had one teacher that was kind of in a better situation. Florida Avenue, Mandeville Elementary, SJ Montgomery were the schools used, and they had early childhood and elementary education participants. Science is not what you make of the block of time. You can use what is already prescribed or make it your own. And that's from one of the participants that I interviewed. Bam. Science.